Welcome to our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll game or a seasoned veteran, we have something for you. Welcome back, folks. We got an awesome show today with Melisa. I keep pronouncing the last name wrong. Pronounce it for us.
Vicioso.
Vicioso.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We had her on previously on audio only on global payroll.
Yeah.
And then she dropped a nugget and said, I did sports payroll as well. And we were like, what? Wait a minute. You got to come back and talk about that.
Yeah.
Walter had this great idea to do like a specialty series where we would talk about different, specialty payrolls where it's very niche down in sports and, casino payroll. We got somebody we connected to with casino and things like construction and so on and so forth. So that was really exciting. And we're kicking it off with Melisa. And you just said something that I'm going to wait. Let me write it down because first of all, how are you doing? How have you been?
Good.
Catch us up.
Good.
How's payroll been treating you?
I think this is like the sweet spot, right? Like after quarter one, like everything is smooth for payroll. You breathe a little bit. So yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you said something that made me think, right? Because folks said to you, why were you in sports? You don't like sports. But people don't realize payroll is payroll.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter what the industry is, right? There are things that are the same, and they, of course, they're going to be things that are different. And like when I change industries, folks are always, I thought you were in education and I thought you were doing this. And I'm like, no, I've been doing payroll for about 20 plus years now. It's always been payroll.
Yeah.
So, now I'm doing HR as well, but it's always been payroll, and it's still, the HR ops side is the other side of the same coin. But, that's what struck me right away. So
yeah, I think what I always tell people, either in interviews or maybe just during my experience, like with my experience, is I think you actually are a little more valuable, at least in my opinion, right? When you work for different industries, because you even use systems differently.
Yeah.
You use reporting differently.
Yep.
So I think that's always helpful to bring that into a new world, right? So I think, and obviously sports payroll is very, very unique just in the sense. But to be honest, I was thinking about it earlier, and it's prevalent more now because it kind of relates to remote working.
Yes. Okay.
Back when I 7-ish, 8 years ago, when I worked for an NBA team, it was brand new to anyone, right? It was for me at least, it was very interesting to understand like duty day schedules and how they get taxed.
What does that mean?
Multi-state tax.
Duty day schedule. What's that?
Yep. So the actual games where they play. That's how they're getting taxed. So
in the state that they're in.
Pardon?
In the state that they play in.
Yes.
But don't they play in like every state over?
Wow.
So you're extreme. So
how do you manage that? How does that work?
So for me, I mean, I can't speak for every sports person that handles sports payroll, but you sync up with the travel manager. You sync up with basketball operations to really ensure, because who's traveling with the team? Did you guys fly in the day before? Did you have a practice in a day before? It's literally.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Wait, hold on.
If they had a practice game.
Time out.
Practice. You're like, all right, this is heading into. It's that intricate.
Practice?
Yes. Even if they had a team meeting.
You sound like AI, Brian.
You have to digest it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy. So think about it like this. I just looked some quick facts, right? More recent times. So there are 82 in-season games, right? So that's taking technically 82 duty days, but you have to counter in preseason games. You have to counter in summer league. You have to counter in any sort of, again, like I said, a practice day. If they're on the road for a long time and they have to sneak in team meetings and things like that, where do they actually take place? It's all of that encompasses.
So many questions, right?
Taxes.
So is their salary divided over all these little things, or is it?
That's interesting. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But they're not considered hourly, right? It's a
No, no,
it's
no.
a it's
It's a
okay.
day
It's a
tax.
contractual salary, or it's a
Yep.
day. So you come up with a daily amount.
So you have, again, you sit with a travel manager, you sit with basketball operations, and you figure out, okay, what does their year look like? You tend obviously that changes, right? But you tentatively have that schedule, right? That's
Yeah.
where how the season's created.
Yeah.
So you can break that down, and then literally, I in the beginning started doing per payroll. We processed a semi-monthly payroll, and then started doing it monthly, right? Because it was taxing, right?
Oh
Like
my!
you're constantly doing it. You want to ensure, did a player get injured? And, and again,
Why did that impact anything? I mean, not that it
what
shouldn't,
if
but
they didn't
how?
travel?
Oh, they did.
Technically, it's not duty.
Wow.
What if they ended up? What if they had to stay at the facility for a day longer? Or maybe there's so many different instances
Wow.
where you have to like consistently think of, with payroll, right? It's very uniform, right? As long as you have a uniform process that you can explain to either the IRS or
Okay,
state
gotcha.
agency,
I'm following.
right?
Yep.
And that's what we had to keep control of, essentially. Maybe now there are things that developed, but I just use Excel. That was it. That was your master record, right? It was and on top of that, it's not even the players, it's the coaches, it's any traveling staff.
Well, so that was my next question.
Did you guys
have separate payroll for corporate as opposed to the players? Yes.
No.
Okay.
So it was all the basketball operations, then
But
corporate.
What did basketball operations include? The players as well and everybody around them?
Coaches, physical
assistants,
therapists,
right?
Ball boys,
everything to make the team work. Okay. So that's basketball operations, and then there was corporate.
And then not every sports franchise owner owns the arena that they play in as well.
Fair,
I
of
guess
course.
I was lucky enough maybe to have that in my case. So we actually even had arena staff.
Oh, okay. And so how big was the payroll staff?
It wasn't big. It wasn't that large.
So.
I want to say maybe, I have to think back, maybe 700. Not huge, not a huge.
No, just on the so 700 total. Got it. But what about the team, the payroll team? It's just one you?
Oh, the team? Initially, when I was first hired, it was a 1-person payroll team.
Wow.
And I was like, the players in itself, your white glove service, right? Yes, you're the contact person for an agent, for an accountant, for their mother, for them. Like, you can't provide that level of service in that gold standard and then have to worry about, okay, now I even have the entire C-suite on corporate side, and then I have hourly staff. So I quickly went to the CFO with just business justification of, listen, for this position to not only be sustainable, but for it to be successful. And I think that's definitely an important part. And to be now that I think about it, it was my first managerial role. So for me to step into that, to quickly recognize, like, yeah, I can't fail here. So what resources do I need? I need to bring metrics, right? I need to bring actual analytics for a CFO or anyone in charge of budgeting in that sense to say, this is a no-brainer.
So now I understand, because I had a couple of friends in my life, in my career, tell me that the sports payroll was a lot. Now, listening to Melisa talk about it, I have a better grasp of what they meant. Like it entails a lot. Wow.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's, again, and I think I said this prior to recording, right? Like, why it's important to have that passion, not necessarily for the sports team in itself, but the intrigue, right, of learning, right? You can't just be someone that is going through the motions, right? There's so many non-Googleable like things like that. It just doesn't, you have to just absorb everything around you. And again, I think I just listened to that tidbit of this week's episode where Brian, you were just talking about that customer service aspect of payroll and how important it plays. In this role, it was probably almost as important as processing payroll.
Yeah.
You had to be again, like I said, travel manager. Even, I can't remember his title, somebody that related to basketball contracts to understand what changed there. Are there any sign-on bonuses? Do they have playoff bonuses? It was that you had to be on one accord in order to play the players correctly.
And it was just Excel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, just Excel to manage it all, like you said.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all I had.
So I guess a question I have is as far as the contract details, because every athlete's contract details are different.
Yep.
Like, so that was why you connected with the best basketball operations people, so you can get that information and stay on top of that.
Yeah.
Because I know some contracts have incentives, like if you play these amount of games.
Yep.
Like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And so what we did is we created more like a master file, right, for every single contract, every single season, right? Are there any kickers? When are they due? So you can understand where the player is, right? Are they at home? Is it off season? So we can charge if somebody was living in Texas, right? That's a big difference than somebody living in California.
Wait a second. Time out again. So there was allocations off season as well?
Yep. And that played a huge part in being in sync with their CPA or whoever else that was handling their financial decisions. Because then again, when I came on, I was still answering questions from 4 seasons prior to me.
Oh my God.
That's how, so it's extremely important to keep such detailed records. And then on this, especially I was in New York, right? So we had state tax, we had local tax.
City tax, transit tax.
Exactly. It's really important to even understand that for yourself so you can explain it to a non-payroll or non-tax person, like a player, right? He's 19, 20 years old. He doesn't even know what FICA is, right? he doesn't even understand tax allocation, right? He just wants to understand why his check went from,
for real,
I don't know, $300,000 to $175,000.
For real.
Right?
I would want to know that too.
Yeah, right.
I would want to get that. I don't get it either.
Yeah, he's like, why am I taxed 37% federal taxes? Right? Like, why? Like, can I get around it? Like, they're also obviously, as they should be, right, really involved with their finances. But it's explaining it again, all the experience that you've had in payroll and explaining it in a quick 20-minute meeting, right? So it's all of that, I think, is, again, one makes up sports payroll, but it plays a huge part in your relationships at the team. If you don't have a good relationship, again, with basketball operations, or even on the corporate side with finance, understanding escrow, understanding the pension side of it, right? Reaching out to the NBA and actually having a connection, right, on anything that changes via union, right? Like, it's all of that. So imagining one person handling all of that. It's just
it's too much. It's too how many players are also on the team? If you're
I think, and then I think 15, there was right? I'm sorry?
Up to 15, I think.
Yeah, and I think so.
Is
like
that on the bench too? Well,
yeah.
That's the bench. Okay, right. Oh, because it's starting 5, so you have a 15. Okay, 15.
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot of white glove for high earning.
Yeah, but then remember also, it's all trades, right?
Oh my God! Wait a minute. What do you mean?
It's more complicated.
What happens in the trade?
Because you have to you're kind of doing a true up, right? To ensure that at that point in time, when that trade happened, did we remit taxes for everything, right? Did we get caught up on everything, right? Do we have all the credit card reconciliations done for when they went on travel and all of these post-tax deductions? Are we all caught up? So it's always, unfortunately, an afterthought, but it's still key. It's key in the employee experience.
That is crazy. So in your time there, did you have any experience where the team traveled to another country at all?
No.
No, okay, because I know the NBA is doing that now, so I'm sure
they
up with that. Yeah,
yeah, in London, I think.
But I know the NFL is doing that. I didn't know the NBA was doing it too.
Yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
wow, that's a whole nother beast.
Yeah, it's
Holy
different, but I mean, in itself, just in the US, right? There are a lot of rules. There are so many rules that I can't think of them offhand, but there are some
Of course
states
not.
that even it depends on the wage base, right? If you earn less than, and maybe this is not related to the players, but related to the basketball, I don't know, engagement associate, right? That makes maybe $75,000, but she wants to go travel, right? So her duty date technically doesn't count because it's below the salary threshold for that state. So it's that kind of up-to-date knowledge that you need to have.
So wait a minute.
This is priceless. This is priceless stuff.
For real. For real. Okay, so hold on. So now not we all get obviously the players are moving around and we got to tax them by state. But now are you also saying that the staff that supports this movement gets taxed the same way in their checks?
Yep. Coaches.
What the hell?
The GM when he travels.
Really? But the GM should be stationary most of the time.
He's pretty involved.
And then
the GM, the sports commentators that go on the road with them, the journalists, anyone attached to the team, obviously that's on payroll, you have to account for them.
Wow.
And again, like I said, I mean, and this goes for any payroll, right? You have to understand it, right? Like we both can't be lost. Like we both can't be lost explaining a payroll form. You have to have that confidence.
Yes.
And then times that by a $57 million contract, right? It's truly having that human soft skill that we were talking about. Like you need that. And then again, like I said, it's dealing with external parties. When I was working for the NBA team, I made it a point to have a contact person for every single state agency. I was the sweetest person in every email, on every phone call, because you need that, right? You need that. If you need
partner with you,
tax record from 5 years ago, they aren't quick to send it to you.
Nope.
But if a player's CPA is reaching out to you saying, hey, we're accruing interest every day that we're not paying this tax levy, we need to understand what it relates to. Is it technically my job? Not really. It's a very fine line. But again, he's the player.
Yep.
So it's interesting. It's knowing also where maybe you should stop. Maybe you should get your boss involved or reach out again to someone in the organization to see if it's beyond what you should be doing.
Wow. Holy cow.
But there's some attributes that are the same. So they all get direct deposit, right?
I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's all direct deposit. It's pretty much the same. When I was working for the team, the minute that I started, the first couple of months, and maybe this is a good and a bad thing, we went through a system implementation. We went from one company to another, completely different. So it was even understanding maybe like the intricacies of each system and explaining why paychecks look different and how to update direct deposit information and things like that on that level, right? On that kind of, again, white glove service. So again, some things are the same for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the differences that make the story here, like, make it so interesting. Holy crap.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
now
I had access to, again, it's all, one thing is also access. This is like in my like the epitome of like that confidentiality that all payroll personnel
absolutely
have, right?
That's right.
You're privy to contracts literally the minute that they're signed, right? You get it in your inbox, or you check the Dropbox or whatever the case may be, and say, you know what, we have to figure out. We have to already onboard them.
You guys
right?
sign NDAs?
Connect with their agents, right? Get these authorization forms out to see who can actually speak to kind of like a, not necessarily power of attorney, but similar notion, right? To say, can I talk to his mom about his paycheck, right? Did he sign off on that? And it's having them on file, right? We had our own like legal team vet these forms to ensure that they're legit and they'll hold up in court or any sort of like legal action. So it's even the initial aspect of it, right? Getting their passport, right? Getting like their ID. It's so kind of far-fetched because their number one focus, right, is their performance, right? Is their skill set. This is truly an afterthought, right? To figure out where their original birth certificate is. And you play a part in that, right? My role there was truly HR payroll.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't only handling or managing the payroll side of things.
Yeah, because the 700 head count, even though it's complicated, you don't need a lot of big team. You know, it's not a big teams involved. So a few people can cover it. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Did you guys have to sign NDAs?
Don't think so. I want to say no, but I think I'm past kind of like that normal.
Yeah, the memory. Yeah.
5 years spread, but I want to say maybe there was some sort of confidentiality.
Yeah, for real. Because if you know, if you privy to info, that's how leaks happen. I mean, because
exactly.
you know, that was actually one of the questions. Like, is the public, because players' contracts seem to be very public and open. Were there nuances that weren't reported in the media that you could? No, it was just like that. Boom, that dang.
I think again, there are other things like their endorsement deals or kind of things that maybe are contracted after, but not necessarily. It's not part of their NBA contract. So I'm trying to think of maybe very general examples, but like a car service or some kind of dedicated chauffeur that they require. That's not contract related. That's something that the team is willing to accommodate in order to make their whatever experience obviously the best and again not have that worry. It's a lot of it
that's
goes
expense too, though.
And but also it's expense on our end.
Yeah, it's a corporate expense. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's not necessarily tied to their contract. It's also
but
kind
it's
of that whole
perk.
Yeah,
fringe benefit probably falls under.
Yeah,
definitely. We definitely covered everything. The only thing, my question, did they have any accountability? Did they have to punch in and out of anything?
You know,
but
no, that's why you connected with the travel manager, right? If you're getting on a flight, if you're getting on a bus or whatever you're getting on, right? Like, you know who's there, right? You know who's present. Because remember, you're also paying per diem.
Is that what?
On top of their $1 million contract,
what do you
they're
mean?
also getting per diem and all of the staff that travel.
Oh, for the travel per diem.
Yes.
So wait, can you define that better for us? Because I remember
I mean, then we use the GSA standard, right, of each state that they traveled in.
Even higher. So like, this is basically a payment we can make to. It's an allowed payment for travel, something like that.
Like personnel, to
cover travel. But it's not earnings, right? It's expense.
No,
it is
their earnings, because there's a split, right? There's a split on what's taxable and not taxable. Per state.
Yeah, I remember that part. I remember when I was at a staffing agency, we had folks that traveled around. I had to do the per diem piece of it. Very interesting.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it was it's interesting. Again, I think the whole CBA thing, that is a conversation itself. Maybe that falls under an NDA or something like that. But it's just, again, like I said, it's having that relationship with the people who have that information, who can explain it in layman's terms to you.
So I have a question regarding the salary caps, right? Because I know that in the NBA they have the luxury tax situation. Did you run into that at all?
Yeah, and even minimum salaries.
Yeah,
like you had to see if somebody was maybe on the last year of their contract and they renegotiated salary. Like, so that's why you had to be that involved. Maybe not a sports fan, but you had to read the newsletter that they sent out every day to see if it relates to salaries, or you had to have that. And it's interesting now, I'm very curious to see how that dynamic worked in the pandemic, because we were all situated where we were in the same facility as basketball operations. That's not always the case. Right. So it's interesting to say, okay, I'm just gonna go grab a cup of coffee. Oh, I ran into the contracts guy. Okay, or I ran into FP&A or whoever. Like, oh, this naturally is coming up. When you're remote, you're not naturally slacking someone or fusing someone to say, hey, did you see the news? Like, you have to create that rapport. So that soft skill is important.
Wow.
Yeah. I just wanted to look up per diem because I was stuck on it. So per diem is an allowance paid to your employees for lodging, meals, incidental expenses incurred when traveling. This allowance is in lieu of paying their actual travel expenses. So instead of so you give the folks money instead of doing the whole expense bit of it, and then there's a limit to how much you can give per diem based on the mileage traveled.
Based like on what state they're in, like what state where they're traveling to. Similar.
Payroll gets so crazy, yo. Like, you gotta be good at this stuff. Wait, I just went blurry. Wow, so it's a blur. But yeah, payroll.
And then you wonder how it's always a department that gets left off, right? How it's always considered a support department. I think this role was like the pinnacle of saying, if this goes wrong, like, it'll be a bad experience for everyone, right? And and again, that's a lot of responsibility that you're taking on, but it's also it was also definitely a position that I had to raise my hand a lot.
No,
I had to raise my hand a lot to say, listen, like, I think I just created this new calculator via Excel. Like, I just create because these are things that agents are asking for, or it makes more sense audit wise, right? That segregation of duties, all of that. Absolutely. It's a private company, right? So you have to rely on how good your internal team truly is.
Wow.
And again, you have to think about it. I probably didn't even have it the hardest, right? Because I would say, maybe in my opinion, speaking to in my past a couple of people at MLB, though, like, there are more games, right? Like, so that's where what I think it's like 150 or 155 like sports franchise teams across the US. Like, while I am one person, a lot of people have the same experience.
Oh, for sure.
People maybe aren't as vocal, maybe.
No, well, I'm glad you said that, because we want to talk to folks across all sports, right? And try to get everybody's story. My niece is actually at MLB. Wow.
And I know that I can't remember her name for the life of me, but when I first started in the world in sports payroll, I didn't even know who to contact. And that's important too, right? It's having that network. I went on the limb and I emailed everyone in payroll. Almost every single payroll person.
No way. Good for you. Did you get response?
And some people responded, some people didn't. And it was, you have to create those relationships, right? To say, hey, you know what, I spoke to some people we texted, like, and it was having that network of 30 teams to say, again, like I said, some people were a lot nicer and willing and were in the industry for a lot longer and knew already before I said anything what my question was. So it's always good to have that as well, but it's knowing what you need and being resourceful in that sense. And I feel like payroll, that's like innate, right? You have that sense of like being resourceful and getting the answers for yourself.
So sometimes investing in ourselves is not just money, it's taking that time, going out on a limb, right out of your comfort zone to say, hey, I need help. I'm like Brent, right? And that's dope. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, this was great. Like, there's so much priceless information that you dropped, so many nuggets. Like, you let us in on the with your experience. Thank you for sharing that stuff, Melisa. Like, this is amazing. Like, Like anybody who's listening, you need to go. If you need some help with sports payroll, forgive me if I'm offering you up.
Yeah, offering you up for tribute.
Yeah, hey, yep, Hunger Games.
No, I think it's important. I always say it. I think it's important. I wish you see this on LinkedIn all the time, right? Be the person that you wish you had, right? And I think in payroll,
wow, yeah. I like
it's very, very, very important because one, it saves you the heartache, right? Two, it just makes you a better payroll professional. And three, why wouldn't you want to make someone else's life easier? Why would you want to have someone go through those same tribulations? But on the receiving end of it, right, it's being appreciative, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that somebody is going out on the limb for you and knowing that they don't have to, but they're willing to extend themselves. So I think it's important. Again, I think in this role was the first role that I was super like I had to force myself out there and network and go to events and ask to get connected to the payroll manager or director and really go out on the limb. And I think it made me a better person overall.
Absolutely.
And again, don't forget the perk of a sports employee. You still went to games.
Oh, nice.
You still went to games.
Okay, so you took advantage of the games.
Of course, yeah.
So wait, what? Okay, now the fun stuff. What was that discount like? Did you get free tickets or?
Some were free, some were discounted, depending on attendance.
Of course,
obviously the team still needs to make money, but it was always they were super involved. Sports and entertainment, while it sounds fun, it is fun. Well, I mean, it sounds daunting, right? With the payroll side of things, it's still all it sounds like, right? It's you're going to games, you're going to concerts. They're super big on employee culture.
Nice.
Because
because they own the stadium, you got the access to the concerts and stuff.
Yeah. Not everyone falls in that world, but luckily I was there. And again, it's what you put. It's seeing kind of the fruits of your labor, right?
That's
and
beautiful.
kind of seeing the positive of things. I think that's always important. Of course, my family, they're huge sports fans, but I think also to that point, I think at the end of the day, it also distinguishes you as an individual, right? When you're out and you're showing face and you're involved, right? I get that in my inbox a lot, right? Like, how can I saw your career, right? How can I excel like you did?
Wow.
It's creating those unique personalities, right? Like those unique traits about you to say, yeah, you know what? When I worked for my first payroll job ever was at United Airlines, and I was super involved. I wanted to know, I wasn't a mechanic, I wasn't a technician, I wasn't a pilot, but I wanted to understand a day in the life of this person, understand how whatever their payroll played out, understand their contracts.
Yeah.
But that makes you different.
Yep.
When you're that engaged. So I think that through and through in every single role that I played, it's really being that valuable person. You're not just payroll. That's right. You're connecting the dots.
Being passionate about what you do, right?
Yeah,
and I think
and it shows. It does sure shows every week on the podcast, right? You hear it in your voice. You see it now, but you hear it in your voice, right? When you guys are so interested in your whole true crime feel, right? Like you hear the excitement. You're like, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, and you're relating it to your current job and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way. It goes obviously not as important as technical, but it's coming very, very close to it.
Yeah. And the technical stuff is coming, because we're just trying to figure out a good way to deliver it. We tried with one of the shows. It was like Payroll 101, and it was such that one show probably took us 2 months to try to record. Because of the way, and if I don't know if you notice it, but we actually didn't record it together. We had decided, look, it's too hard to be together trying to go through this. Go record your piece. I'll record my piece. We'll put it together and go from there and see what happens.
I have to re-listen to see if you hear the separate, but I don't think so.
Probably not, because if you're just listening to, oh wow, you don't even pay attention, and that's the great thing about audio. But we realize, like, you know what? That's training. That's training.
Of
And we
course.
can do that. We can deliver that, but that has to be through a different medium and a different way. And like, and that's what really helped us. It was like, wait a minute. If we go at it at training, we'll do it better. And edutainment is a lot different. We could have more fun being a little bit more broad stroke. And yes, we get gritty, but it's for
very
payroll
high
people.
level. Like it needs to be very general, so people don't come back and they're like,
what in
hey,
the hell?
Walt, you actually said this, but
like,
okay.
And that's funny because we try to be careful with that too. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, that's not the only answer, you know. So yeah. Oh man, what a pleasure to have you on again, Melisa. It was been great. Walt, anything that
I'm blown away. I learned.
Show your heat, bro. Open the jacket. Talking about basketball. His Heat is in the playoffs, and my Knicks are in the playoffs, and
we're gonna get smashed, man.
Oh, you think you're not gonna? You don't think you're gonna do well? No. Dang. See, I don't even know. I haven't. My brother got like I was just telling Walt. My brother got so mad at me. I was like, "Oh, the Knicks are in the playoffs." He was like, "Well, yeah, of course they are." And I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, exactly." I was like, "Sorry if I haven't been keeping up with basketball." But now it'll be fun to watch playoff. Try to catch some games yesterday too, and you know.
And the whole time you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, where are they playing?"
Oh, now that's it. That's it. Now it's gonna be like, oh, where are they? Oh, wow. And the other team, I'm gonna just be bugging out.
How many people are on the bench?
I wonder if that guy is included in this. Let me text Melisa.
It's very interesting. Trust me. You're almost like because they almost get paid per like extra round, right? So the first round you get it's an incentive. The second round, additional incentive.
Oh, wait a minute. Duh. Okay, they're in the playoffs now. How does that work? Because you're done with regular season pay, right?
So it's exact. So this is when things change.
Wait a minute. So does it
in season's only the 82 games?
This might have to be two parts. So wait a minute. But the 82 games is still paid over 12 months because that salary is still divided over 12 months.
And no.
Yes and
you have to add duty days. So there's still a set number of days or wages that are allocated to your home state
to pay. Okay.
Yeah. So
and then taking playoffs come. It's a whole nother plan of payment, isn't it? That you have to lay on top of it. Oh my gosh.
Sounds so fun.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, define your definition of fun. Again, like I said, it's the challenge, right? It's you wanting yourself to say, this is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna solve this. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna solve for it. I'm gonna make it better. I'm gonna do
exactly.
Absolutely. No, that's what I find as well for myself in my career. I love to help and add value to something and help solve problems. I don't think I can be in a place where managers just check boxes every day, like, oh, everything's done. Yeah, great. You know, I need, you know, that there's a too much too, and we gotta pull it back and balance it out. But
another conversation.
That's exactly right. Thank you. And that's a perfect segue. So hopefully we can get you come back again. We'll figure out oh wait, we have a verbal deal for a global series.
yes.
From Melisa. So but it's going to be on your time for sure. And we're actually going to, depending on the timing and all of it, we may plug it in as additional shows throughout so that, you know, you can record on your time. We can record with you and whatever we want to do to make it happen. But Melisa has agreed to give us some more global nuggets, you know, and we got to see, you know, we're going to develop that out for her. So that'd be really great. You know, the fans really loved you and connected. So we just want to keep giving folks what they like. You know what I mean?
Knowledge.
Yes, ma'am. So that's it, folks, I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm like so buzzing right now. It's such a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get off and I'm gonna call Walt and be like, oh my God, how amazing.
She was amazing.
It's very interesting.
All right. So thank you very much again for the show. Melisa, it's been great having you. Walt, any final words before we let Melisa go?
Nope. It was good to be a student in here and learn. I learned a lot today, Melisa. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Appreciate you.
Word. Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having me again. I appreciate it. I look forward to the next time.
Yes, we look forward to it too.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a great week. Peace.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
All right,
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of our podcast. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And we hope that the information that was shared with you will impact you as a payroll professional. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.